Rush Limbaugh is weighted down by the fact that literally, but he's also weighted down by the fact that he's been on the air for a long time. And he said so many crazy things that if you're going to get your audience fired up, you have to keep ratcheting it up. And so Rush Limbaugh has come up with one of the craziest theories I've heard out of him for a long time. And it involves guns and abortion. And so he was talking with a caller, and he's got a couple of very interesting quotes here that I think are worth discussing. The first, it bothers me because I think it's a representative of what is making it so difficult for us to talk reasonably about gun control in this country, and that's this quote. By definition, if you have gun control laws, the law-abiding will be the only people that don't have guns.
By definition, if you outlaw drugs, the only people who won't have drugs are law-abiding citizens. You can do that with any crime.
Yeah.
If you outlaw rape, the only people not raping will be law-abiding citizens who won't rape.
Yeah.
That's what he's trying to say.
So
but also the problem.
Go ahead.
Okay, the problem that I have with it is that, so I'm in favor of increased gun regulation. And despite the fact that I'm sure anyone commenting after this statement will not recognize what I'm about to say, that does not mean that I want to ban guns or confiscate guns or take away your guns.
Yes.
I like guns. At some point in the future, I might own a gun or two. I just think that there should be reasonable regulations on the distribution of guns, the fact that we should be able to have some idea of who owns them, how crazy they might be, if they're on the terrorist watch list, things like that. And the problem is that people like Rush Limbaugh believe that you either have as many guns and grenades and bazookas as you want, or Stalin comes to your house personally and takes away your guns.
Well, and I think
there's a huge range between those two things.
I think that's why they use rhetoric like gun control, and to them that sounds like Big Brother is going to control how many guns I have, and since I seem crazy to Big Brother, I'm going to be a target of this giant raid. Probably because you are crazy, and probably because you don't need an arsenal in your basement.
Or
and
you
so,
get paid to speak crazy.
I mean, it's kind of like the cheaters, you know, when you're in a relationship and somebody's cheating, they're super paranoid that the other person's cheating all the time. Well, you know, maybe you are probably kind of preparing for some eventuality that's a little scary to your neighbors, you know, and you are the kind of person that we're going to be a little more concerned about.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I guess I buried the lead. I teased the fact that he said something even crazier, so I should give that to you.
Oh, that's true.
Rush Limbaugh eventually gets on to this point. I'll say it's a point. I don't think it deserves that respect, but you know how to stop abortion? Require that each one occur with a gun.
That's a nice visual.
Yeah.
That's a horrible visual.
That's a nice
also,
visual.
it doesn't feel like it's making his point.
Well, it's his complicated point that, again, what's underlying that argument is that every Democrat and liberal wants to take away every gun, and so the only way to stop abortion is requiring that it needs a gun. It's a stupid point. I understand, by the way. I understand that
But the minute that you think about an
abortion
abortion being performed by a gun, you think that guns are horrible. We should get rid of them.
Yeah.
I mean, this is my initial reaction. It's like, yeah, this is why we need gun control.
So their arguments seem to be backfiring on them, which is what keeps happening, right? They keep making these crazy arguments. They keep. So the two are, crazy people. You can't legislate against crazy people. Crazy people who want to murder people are going to want to murder people.
Yeah.
So I guess we should then allow them to have the easiest access to firearms. That's just common sense.
Yeah.
Common sense.
And the other one is we've got 300 million guns in America already. Thugs are going to get their hands on guns if they want. And that goes back to I guess we can't have anything illegal then because only criminals are going to do the illegal things.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you outlaw bazookas, only...
Well, 2 people did turn in
a bazooka here in Los Angeles.
Exactly,
They did a gun buyback. People turned in a bazooka.
But only 2, and I think that's progress.
Right.